Hi, this is Cynthia Horner from Right on Digital, and I'm here with Jay Alphonse, and he is going to talk to us today about his role on P-Valley and more. So, Jay
Yes.
Alphonse, welcome. And the first question I want to ask you is, how does it feel to be part of a series that has become such a fan favorite? Like when I go to my Facebook account, everybody's weighing in on previous episodes and arguing over what they feel needs to happen next. And that doesn't happen with a lot of series. It does happen with other series on Starz network, but not necessarily in general. So how does this make you feel?
Oh, well, it's a blessing. And well, first of all, thank you for having me, Cynthia. It's a true pleasure to be talking to you. It's an honor truly to be a part of something that has taken over, social media and has had such an impact on the community and the culture. Much love to Katori Hall. So to be able to support this Black woman in all her endeavors when it comes down to P Valley, it's just been a true journey and an amazing ride. And for me, having the opportunity to play Lil Murda, aka Lamarcus, this character with this complex arc that a lot of TV and film the world hasn't seen. We know who Lil Murda is in real life. We do see him in our community. We know who he is, but seeing him on this platform, we have not. And it's just been, man, I have a lack of words sometimes, but it's been amazing, truly.
When people see you on the street and they recognize you from the show, what is it that they want to ask you, besides, of course, wanting to take a picture with you, if
Yeah.
possible?
Yeah, they ask all sorts of questions. They want to know, what's going to happen with Lil Murda and Uncle Clifford. They want to know if Lil Murda is going to drop an album, and they ask all sorts of questions. And I'm always entertained by the questions. Sometimes they ask questions that are a little too personal, but nonetheless, it's always an experience being out and being recognized. And I'm still fairly new to it, even though I come from the Broadway world where you step out that stage door, there's fans there and they want autographs. And I had a director tell me once that his grandmother used to say to him, if somebody wants your little raggedy autograph, you better give it to them. So keep, I keep that in mind when it comes to seeing fans, and I remain humble and remind myself that I'm still just a normal guy from North Carolina. But yeah, it's always an experience, and they ask me all types of questions.
Well, that must be kind of fun. Now, when you first got signed on to be part of the cast, what did you do to develop the character?
Well, I was, I would had a couple of meetings with Katori, and she sent me a lot of the story, the character building that she had been doing with Lil Murda. So some of his background, but also just like music that he would listen to, music that I could be inspired by. So a lot of Southern hip hop, some classical, some jazz. I would listen to classical music sometimes just to kind of set the tone for myself as well. But Southern, very Southern rooted music, and but mostly hip hop. And then just setting my most natural Southern self. I'm from North Carolina, so we're not the most Southern state, but people from North Carolina are definitely people from the South and who have migrated from whether it's Mississippi or Alabama. And so I would just sit in my natural, just flat Southern self as much as I could while working on P Valley. And then as far as the music, I'm a musician, I'm a drummer. So I relied a lot on my musical just kind of gifts that I've already been given as far as rhythm and timing and tempo, just grace notes, knowing all the different layers that I have as a drummer and applying that to the rapping. And so freestyling with friends, when I had the time while I'm just hanging out in my hotel or hanging out, in my apartment in Atlanta while I was working there. So I did all types of things to prepare, but more specifically, just attacking it the same way I would any other character and coming in prepared, coming in focused, being relaxed, precise, fierce, as I like to say. Those three things stick with me with any character that I start to develop. And understanding that this character was different because of the weight that I was carrying, being a heterosexual man, playing a character that's a part of the LGBTQ community. I wanted to take very great care of that. and delicate care of that, make sure I was being honest so that my brothers and sisters and everyone in between in that community could feel represented and heard. So just being very, very conscious and cautious of the choices that I was making for Lil Murda. Wanted to be very honest with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you appear to be a very responsible person and also a very mature person, because according to some of your biographical material, you have actually been a musician since you were a little boy. Mm-hmm. And of course, over the years, you began to work with some musical icons. So can you talk a little bit about how you first became a drummer, and if you ever thought that your initial love for drums would turn into paying gigs?
Man, I, started drumming so early in my life that it's like I can't even remember not being a drummer. Much love to my mom and my dad, who, my mom is still here, but my father, he's gone, he's passed on. But they always invested in my musical gifts. I grew up playing the drums in the church, and they went on to marching band throughout high school and a little bit collegiately. And then eventually, started playing in bands and traveling around the country a little bit, and coming out and playing out here in LA with a band at some point, but mostly in North Carolina. And then going to college thinking I was going to be a music major, but then turned into a theater major, but knowing that the musical gifts would be able to apply there as well, just as far as timing and rhythm, and the way music moves through your body is similar to the way words and art moves through your body. And so, if you would have told me growing up as a kid that I would be a successful musician, I would have believed you. If you said an actor, I'd probably be like, what? I don't know. But you tie the two together, and it's my life. It means the world to me. Obviously, my wife and my children mean the most to me. But I would say after that, after my family, it's music and acting. And so being a drummer, street drumming in New York, making a living off of it, was also another journey that I've been on that's, different than acting, that some people know about, everyone doesn't know about, but that music took care of me. It took care of my family, allowed me to go back and forth to North Carolina to see my son, allowed me to feed myself while I was on these stages. And so I have just an immense amount of love for my street drums, my buckets, and my pots and pans, which are sitting right back there in my closet. I still have them now. And then just for the gift that God has given me, I'm super grateful for it, to be able to make music with my hands, make a living with it. And then the rapping, I said this in a couple other interviews, if you would have told me I would have a song with Megan Thee Stallion, one of the biggest rappers of our time right now, I don't know if I would believe you. And so I just want to continue to take the music much further, not necessarily as a rapper. I think Lil Murda handles that for me, but as a musician, I tell my wife this all the time. I've told other people I would love to be part of like a Beyonce's music camp, and creating some music, being part of a band, creating a music for that type of level of an artist. So I'm grateful that the music has paved the way for me, and that acting has also been connected to that as well.
Now, you said that you had thought about being a music major when you were in college, but then you turned into becoming a theater major. Now, as somebody who had been in marching bands and all that kind of stuff, what drew you to the theater initially?
So I was always an entertainer. I feel like my mom, she wrote plays in church that I was a part of. I was a part of a step team in high school that was very entertaining, and we would do little skits on, within our performance. And I was just able to entertain my friends, whether it's telling jokes. I did stand-up comedy early on. I was like 17, 18, I was bouncing around to different comedy clubs. So I always had an itch for storytelling, and I just didn't know exactly how I could make a living off of that until, I did. I just didn't really get the details of it until I got to college, and woman by the name of Karen Deacons Brock, who was a professor at North Carolina Central University, one of my favorite professors. She came up to me in the hallway, and she noticed me having a conversation with a young lady. She said, "You have a great personality. I feel like you should come audition for this play." And so I did it. She cast me in the lead role, and something just overcame me. It was like an epiphany. It was a revelation. I said, man, I was born to be a storyteller. So I immediately changed my major. and focused on acting from then on. So from time I was 18 till now, that really was my main focus. And then music and drumming had always been the beat, the undercurrent for my career, and it's kept me afloat.
Wow, you have had an amazing journey. And
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier about how who would have ever thought that you would be on a song with Megan Thee Stallion. So can you talk a little bit about that? Well, obviously you probably both recorded your portions of the song separately.
We did. So
Mm.
we actually met prior to P Valley. I did a Nike campaign called the Yard Runners campaign, which focuses on HBCUs and graduates from HBCUs. And so I represented my HBCU, North Carolina Central University, and Megan represented hers, Texas Southern University. And so we met via Zoom. Great connection, felt the energy. And I think I just threw out there like, hey, I heard you coming down to the Valley. And she was like, oh, I can't wait. And by that time, I think we had both recorded our songs too. So like you said, we did those separately. Shout out to my team over at P Valley Starz, my good brother, Antoine Moore, AKA New Money, who is an amazing writer. And so he pinned together this amazing verse. I went in, I did my thing, threw my sauce on there, my candy, and I think they loved it. Obviously, Meg Thee Stallion and her team, they were really excited about coming to join the show. When we heard her verse, we was like, oh, she killed it as usual. And then when you put the two together, it's just a epic moment for the culture. I think history was made as far as television, as far as having a fictional character and a real life character come together like that. Obviously, she was playing her, Tina Snow version of herself. But yeah, it was nice. And the work that we took to put it together, I said it took maybe a month or two. My wife is sitting over here. I'm trying to, my pretty baby, as I like to say. But yeah, it took about a month or two to really get the song exactly where we wanted it. And once Katori was happy with it and we were happy with it, and here we are. It's about to come out Sunday. It releases to the public officially. Sunday. Can't wait.
Wow. Congratulations. This is so great.
Thank
Now,
you.
I want to ask you another P Valley question. I know we're going to have to wrap up soon.
No
Do
worries.
you have a favorite actor from the series that you hang out with whenever you had a little bit of downtime?
Yeah, well, besides hanging out with myself all the time. No, but who would be, unfortunately, because of COVID, we didn't get a chance to hang out as much as we would like. And I think I appreciate and love all of my castmates equally, especially those who came with me from the beginning, that pilot presentation. So that would be Nico, Anand, Brandy, Shannon, Elarica, that core group. We've been at this since 2018. And I'm very fond of all of their work and the work ethic that they put into the show. So it's hard to just choose one person. But obviously I share a lot of my scenes with Nico, Anand, and he's just a great human being, but also a great actor. And so we have opportunity to do really great work together. I think this season, Big Teak, the character played by Jon Stewart, were probably some of my most heartfelt scenes, especially the one in the car in 206, pardon me, where he has to take his life. So I never had a scene like that. And so having to share that moment with a scene partner, with my castmate, John and I, were able to form a great bond, a great brothership, having to lean on each other through these roles and making sure we keep each other lifted up. So hard to choose just one person that I could pick from the cast. Like I said, I love everyone, but I've spent a lot of time with Nico, and he hangs out with me and my wife and my family. And, we all actually hang out sometimes. We had a ball down at X Fest a couple of weeks ago. So everybody, but me and Nico, we've done a lot of work.
Oh, that's great. And I want to ask you one more question about drumming. You have worked with such artists as Talib Kweli and others. So can you mention something about your journey being involved with a lot of these very well-known musicians?
Yeah, for sure. So with Talib Kweli, I think we happened to connect at a thing called Soul in the Horn down in Brooklyn, in Bed-Stuy, New York. I said down in, but over there in Brooklyn. And so we just had one opportunity where, I think he was DJing, we chopped it up, and I was able to street drum along with him. And then so a couple DJs who've come through that where it was just epic moments, people captured that. But then a lot of what people also have known me for is doing these, what I call street drum covers. So I've been able to do one of Kehlani's song, Water, which she really loved and supported me on my social media campaign about that. And Currency, the Spitter, a lot of people know him as Currency from New Orleans, one of my favorite artists, allowed me to cover one of his songs. So that's kind of been my thing on that journey. And then I had this amazing opportunity a couple of years ago to be on stage with the Wailers, Bob Marley's band, and his nephew saw me street drumming in North Carolina. And he said, listen, bro, I want you to come down and play with us here at Cat's Cradle. And so to be on stage with the Wailers, Bob Marley's one of my favorite musicians, so to be on stage with his band. And at the time, I think it was only one original member of the band who was the drummer. It was just an epic experience. And then, even down to being able to compose a show at the Lincoln Center Theater for Education. Dominique Morisseau, amazing writer and playwright, also screenwriter out of New York. She's based out of Detroit, but she works mostly in New York. Hired me to compose this show for her based off of my abilities to create music that I call found sound at the time. So using oil, drums, and pots and pans and buckets and all these things. We did this really cool show called Autumn's Harvest. So still getting my footprint in the world as a drummer and wanting to work with other great musicians and legends who I consider legends in the music industry. So I can't wait to talk more about that at another time.
All right, that's great. And we want to thank you for this interview with Right On Digital. Don't be a stranger. You're so interesting and you do have loads of personality, which is the reason why people want to use you for all these projects. So we will keep watching you on P-Valley and we will keep up with your music career as well.
Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.